Iran represents a critical component of BRICS. It is a far more important country than South Africa or Brazil, or maybe even India, because of its oil and natural gas resources and its location. And as such, this entire, I'll call it theater about Iran's nuclear enrichment was an excuse.
Yes,
because this is about, as Israel had confessed, regime change, getting a regime in place in Iran that's going to be malleable. And what I'm seeing, and it goes back to sort of my original question, that it's not just in Iran that they're working on regime change. Now they've got Azerbaijan has popped up just out of nowhere.
yeah,
With and what we've learned is that both Mossad and CIA had significant presence in that country, and that it was used as a staging base for attacking Iran. And now it's being used as well as I think, to open a second front against Russia. I think the West is so fearful of losing, the dawning realization they're losing in Ukraine, that they want to open a second front and hope to divert Russian resources. And then you get Serbia, where, again, the protests against Vucic just, appeared to come out of nowhere. I mean, I'll defer to your expertise on that. So I think this is a broader effort by the West to try to see what they can do to derail BRICS, because we're starting to see more and more people are turning to like the SIPs, the cross-border interbank payment system. If for no other reason that it's actually a modern digital tool as opposed to SWIFT, which is like a buggy whip from the 19th century.
Yeah. Well, Larry, I agree with absolutely everything you said, and I think that the importance of Iran is also it's a key node in the north-south international transport corridor, which is the BRICS, Russian and Chinese answer to the Suez Canal route through Egypt, which is longer, more expensive, and less efficient than the northwest south the corridor, which depends also on Iran and on Azerbaijan and Iran are both on that route. And so I think that this hostilities breaking out between Russia and Azerbaijan, literally out of nowhere, is I agree, probably reflects the West's panic that they're losing in Ukraine, that they cannot reverse that defeat, and that they need to start arson attacks against peace elsewhere. And so Azerbaijan is well placed there, as you said. They are well connected with the Mossad. They're well connected with MI6, and they're well connected with the Turkish deep state. What happened was that the Russians cracked down on the Azeri mafia in Yekaterinburg, because not only are they, apparently prolific drug smugglers, there's suspicion that they provided support to the Ukrainians in orchestrating last month's spiderweb attack to target Russian strategic bombers. And so, Russian FSB investigated that, and they cracked down not on random Azeri citizens in Yekaterinburg, but on the members of this network, which is pretty much organized crime. And then Azerbaijan reacted in a very, very strangely and unusually aggressive manner. They immediately retaliated with their own crackdown on Russian journalists and Russian personnel that was not organized crime, and they deliberately humiliated them and publicized the like as if as if they intended to undermine their good relations between Azerbaijan and Russia. And then they also immediately ordered the shutdown of all the Russian cultural events in Azerbaijan and the shutdown of Russian language schools. Azerbaijan used to be a Soviet republic.
Right.
And so a lot of people there speak Russian. So there are Russian schools, there are Russian cultural centers and so forth. So, these relationships are very extensive. And so Azerbaijan's reaction to FSB's crackdown on Azeri mafia in Yekaterinburg is very strange. How to explain it? Okay. Would you believe that in less than 4 months ago, on 14th March of this year, Britain sent the first ever defense attaché to Azerbaijan to take office. His name was Lieutenant Commander Gavin Tarbard. And so it seems to me that somehow they managed to co-opt Azerbaijan or to encourage Azerbaijan to antagonize Russia, and at the same time to antagonize Iran. Where does this come from? I think it comes from they worked on this for a very long time, principally with Turkey and their deep state.
Right.
So first they established this cooperation, a long time ago, in order to overthrow the regime of Bashar al-Assad in Syria, and even his father before that. So that has been brewing for a very long time. Then the British and the Turks incubated these jihadi movements in Idlib, through which they overthrew Bashar al-Assad government finally last December. But they also wanted to bring Turkey into the alliance with Ukraine against Russia in 2022, which Russians, thanks to their very skilled diplomacy, managed to avert. So they're not exactly allies with Turkey, but they at least managed to remove Turkey from the hostile alliance with Ukraine. And in the beginning, the Turks were on board. They provided Ukraine with certain intelligence support and drones technology and so forth, but they weren't in all hog. And so the person who was tasked with this project was Sir Richard Moore. And Sir Richard Moore is the patron saint of Volodymyr Zelensky, but he also he's currently the head of MI6, right? And he also used to be a British ambassador to Ankara, to Turkey. And he formed a friendship with Erdogan. And he has been trying to sell Erdogan on this concept of Greater Turania. And Greater Turania is like the geographical concept that kind of brings together all the Turkic people on the Asian continent, which stretches pretty much from Turkey all the way to China. You have you have Turkey, then you have Azerbaijan, then you have Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, you have Kazakhstan, you have Tajikistan. All these stans are Turkic people, and so the ambition that was being sold to the Turks was, hey, why don't you unite the Turkic people under some kind of economic political unity, and you would be then the leader of this great expanse of territory and a huge population, and then you have huge power on the Eurasian continent, and so this is the concept that the British were trying to sell to the Turks in order to co-opt them into striking against Russia. And then Iran is on the target there because the northwestern part of Iran is actually southern Azerbaijan, which is again a large area populated by Turkic people. So, for Aliyev, maybe the ambition is to enlarge his country at the expense of Iran. That's what the British would probably naturally offer to Aliyev in order to help them destabilize Russia and Iran. And then there's also that corridor connecting Azerbaijan and Turkey, which is called, I always forget the name. It's a give me a second. It's called the Zangezur corridor, which then would make Azerbaijan and Turkey territorially connected. It's like a land bridge.
Yeah.
And
at the expense of Armenia, right?
Exactly, at the expense of Armenia. And so, these are all the ways that I guess British diplomacy, their secret services, their whole network of geopolitical action is now trying to enact in order to open a new front against Russia, to destabilize it from a brand new hostile power. But I have to say, I wonder why they're doing this now, because if this was really a strong card to play, wouldn't they have played that card instead of Ukraine? They went with Ukraine probably because Ukraine was a much, much stronger card to play in that game. And so now that they're losing in Ukraine, now that Trump is ceasing the arms support to Ukraine, they're in a panic. Macron is calling Putin after 3 years, and they're suddenly starting to stir the pot in Azerbaijan. So I'm suspecting that it's a weak card. I suspect that it's a gambit out of desperation, and that nothing much will come out of it.
What about Serbia?
Yes. So they are also antagonizing Serbia. Serbia has traditionally been an ally to the British before and during World War I, World War II, and even during the 1990s wars in the Balkans. So the British diplomacy has consistently been very supportive of the Serbs at the expense of other republics there. Now they see Serbs as an irritant because, Vucic refused to impose sanctions on Russia, among other things. And then Serbia is there on the Danube. What happens if the Russians take Odessa and the remainder of Black Sea coast? They take control of that. Then the estuary of the Danube River opens the Black Sea to the landlocked part of the European Union, which is Hungary, Slovakia, Czech Republic, and Austria. And these countries are already kind of teetering on regretting their membership of the EU. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's a good chance that in not so distant future, Hungary will be looking to go out. Well, if they're landlocked, then the EU can easily embargo them, blackmail them, sanction them, and so on. But if they have open estuary to the Black Sea, then they can join the BRICS. They can join the multipolar integrations. They can trade with Russia, Ukraine, Iran, India, China, everybody through the Black Sea. So Serbia has a long stretch of the Danube coast. And so I guess changing the regime in Serbia and bringing somebody more friendly to the West is one of the ways that they can derail multipolar integrations, consolidate power over European Union members, and basically frustrate the BRICS development and Russia's ambitions in the region. And so basically, again, you have the British, who are now widely perceived to be the dominant foreign influence in Sarajevo, in the government of Bosnia and Herzegovina. And they're not just having influence on the government, they're also, because they come with, they act not through official channels. They act through networks of non-government organizations,
Right.
through charities, through private contractors, and then through also special forces, through secret diplomacy, and through intelligence services. And there's already a very close collaboration with between MI6 and the secret service of the government of Bosnia and Herzegovina. And in February, Britain concluded military cooperation agreement with the government of Bosnia and Herzegovina, which is completely random unless you understand that their intention is to use the Balkans as the next beachhead against Russia, which is what they pretty much openly declared in an article published by RUSI, the Royal United Services Institute, which is one of the two big government think tanks in the UK. And so they are beginning to antagonize Serbia. And then Bosnia is particularly useful to them because it has three constituent peoples. It has Serbian Orthodox, Serbians who are Christian Orthodox in the east. You have the Bosniaks who are Muslim. And then to the west, you have majority Croatian populations who are Christian Catholics. So, getting some kind of a military escalation going between these two groups is relatively easy.
Mm-hmm.
It is. All you have to do is you have to orchestrate a massacre where one group goes and massacres a number of completely innocent civilians of the other group. And if that doesn't work, then you orchestrate a retaliatory massacre and you make it a bit bigger of these people then massacring a bunch of, and you throw in a couple of rapes and, kill children and so on. They do this, they do this routinely to detonate wars. And so to prepare the terrain, they've also maneuvered Croatia, Albania, and Bulgaria into signing a military alliance, which is a complete, I talk to people in Croatia and they have no idea what this is all about. Like, we have nothing to do with Albania. We have nothing to do with Bulgaria. Why on earth we would be in any kind of a military alliance? Nobody can discern.
Yeah.
But what we do have in common is that we surround Serbia. So Croatia is to the west of Serbia, Albania is to the south of Serbia, and Bulgaria is to the east of Serbia. So, you have this triangle getting prepared to attack Serbia if something can get, some kind of hostility can get orchestrated, and we know who's working on that, and they are working on it.